What came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the book or the speech, or the blog, or the magazine article? Fellow Toastmasters and fellow authors, and anyone else who's ever been stuck writing a speech or a book. Tonight you'll learn why, if you have one of those items, you have a head start on the others. Books, speeches, blogs, and articles are just ideas. The only difference is the method of delivery. Craig Valentine, the 1999 world champion of public speaking, teaches speakers to have a foundational phrase, a 10-word or less sentence in which the whole message of your speech is built. Bill Gove, the first president of the National Speakers Association, says, "Make a point, tell a story. Make another point, tell another story. Make yet another point, and tell yet another story." That is the essence of public speaking. Experts, including Lisa Crone, the author of Wired for Story, Michael Haig, a script writing consultant for Will Smith and the author of Writing Screenplays That Sell, and Peter Guber, the author of Tell to Win, all talk about the power of story. Stories connect with our emotions, and that connection makes them memorable. A work of fiction can be described as a hero's journey, and it's either successful or unsuccessful. A well-written book of nonfiction contains principles that are supported with stories that are used as examples. And you can use my book as an example. My book, called Stand Up and Speak Up, opens with the story of how at 50, I suffered from severe stage fright. I joined Toastmasters and only gave 6 speeches in my first year and a half. Then I took some stand-up comedy and some improv and decided to compete in every contest. And I went to speaking seminars and I began my journey. The chapters in this book were almost all speeches that I gave in Toastmasters, either at a club or a contest. The foundational phrase of each speech is a nice title or a chapter. For example, I did a speech called Invest in Yourself, where I talk about how I tried to get better playing golf on the cheap, and how I would just go out there and hack and maybe shave a few strokes off my score. I saw a friend of mine who I played in tournaments with once a month at the Lakewood Golf Club, and he all of a sudden got 10 or 15 strokes better. Why? Because he paid for lessons. I was willing to invest in books and magazine subscriptions, but without the personal coaching, I did not improve. I was too cheap. And then I remembered a lesson that my department manager, Rick Pozo, shared with us about training money being not an expense, but an investment in our people. Whenever our company, in a lot of companies, when money gets tight, they're not bringing in enough business, they want to make cuts. A lot of companies, the first cut is training. A lot of departments in my company, first thing they do is slash the training budget. He specifically told his department managers that I want you to go and look at every single thing we spend money on. If we can defer stationary expenses, don't buy those extra desks or paper clips. Anything that we can do to save money on things that we don't really need, but we were in the habit of just buying because we could, and save that money so we can continue to train our people. So that became a chapter in my book where I told those stories and made the point that you invest in yourself, and I gave examples of how I've invested in myself. Another one is just because you couldn't doesn't mean you can't. I used that in a contest where I talked about how I couldn't draw and I couldn't do mechanical things, and I told an embarrassing story how it took me 3 times to hang a screen door. But Over time, I learned how to do those things. I learned how to draw, and I used to label myself as someone who could not speak. And then I joined Toastmasters, and here I am talking. So you can write a book by taking speeches that you've written, and they can become chapters in your book. Or if you're not sure what you want to put in a book, start doing speeches. It forces you to explore those ideas, and you will learn how to formulate those ideas. Now, when you go from a speech to a book, you need to change the wording. Some beginning speakers often will speak, they'll write a speech out as if somebody is going to read it, and then they will read it, and it sounds like it was written to be read. You will need to change the structure, but the ideas are there, and wouldn't you agree that the hardest part of writing anything is coming up with the idea? You can polish it and edit it to get it in the format that you want. So if you're an author, you can share your stories and the lessons in your book, and the lessons of your book in a speech, a blog, or an article. If you're a speaker, your speeches can become a book, a blog, or an article. Mix and match these, and if you have one, start another. Get unstuck and move forward. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The idea. Madam Toastmaster.